January, federal court ruling changed gun laws across America. If you legally own a firearm in the United States, the legal ground under your feet has quietly shifted, and most people still do not realize it. A January federal court decision has begun changing how gun laws are enforced, reviewed, and challenged nationwide. These are not small policy updates. They are fundamental legal shifts that redefine what government agencies can and cannot do. Subscribe to the channel and like right now because Rule 10 will directly affect how you travel with your firearm across state lines. Law 1. The new Constitutional Review Standard. A major federal court decision just changed how firearm-related laws are legally evaluated across the United States. For decades, courts allowed broad restrictions with minimal constitutional scrutiny that made sweeping firearm regulations easy to defend. This new ruling elevates firearm-related constitutional claims to the highest level of legal review in American jurisprudence. That means any law that restricts your firearm rights must now undergo a far more demanding constitutional test than ever before. Firearm restrictions now face strict constitutional scrutiny under federal law. The government must prove a compelling reason for any limitation on firearm rights. Sweeping bans or broad regulations face increased legal vulnerability. Judges are required to give constitutional protection priority over policy convenience. This change reshapes how courts interpret firearm-related legislation. It places the burden of proof squarely on regulators instead of individual citizens. It strengthens the legal foundation for every future challenge to gun control laws. Law 2. Accountability in enforcement. Lawful gun owners have long experienced inconsistent treatment during routine police encounters involving firearms. Informal practices often confused what officers could legally demand and what citizens were required to comply with. These gray areas created situations where constitutional violations occurred without consequence. The January ruling directly addresses this pattern by reinforcing that constitutional rights must be respected during real-world enforcement. This change places greater responsibility on enforcement agencies to justify firearm-related actions with clear constitutional authority. Officers are now held to higher legal standards when interacting with lawful carriers. Actions that previously went unchallenged now face stronger judicial review. This reshapes how firearm-related encounters are handled nationwide. Improper firearm seizures face heightened legal scrutiny. Enforcement actions must be supported by clear legal authority. Rights-based complaints receive stronger judicial standing. Agency training standards must align with constitutional limits. This rule improves consistency across jurisdictions and strengthens lawful carry protections. It discourages informal or arbitrary enforcement practices. It ensures constitutional safeguards apply in everyday encounters. It marks a major shift in street-level firearm enforcement. Law 3. Due process before restriction. Temporary firearm seizures and informal restrictions have raised serious due process concerns for years. Many lawful owners found themselves in legal limbo without formal charges or clear legal justification. These practices blurred the line between investigation and punishment. The January ruling now reinforces that firearm rights cannot be restricted without a formal legal process. Courts have clarified that constitutional due process must precede significant limitations on lawful firearm possession. Informal holds and vague administrative actions now face heightened legal challenge. Formal legal procedures become mandatory when restricting firearm rights. This restores procedural accountability in firearm-related cases. Firearm confiscation requires formal legal grounding. Vague temporary holds face constitutional challenge. Civil-style seizures receive stronger scrutiny. Due process standards now govern firearm restrictions. This protects lawful owners from arbitrary deprivation of property. It increases legal clarity around when restrictions may occur. It strengthens procedural safeguards nationwide. It reinforces the principle that rights cannot be suspended casually. Law 4. Protection of gun owner privacy. The expansion of digital firearm records and data sharing practices raised growing civil liberty concerns. Centralized databases created privacy risks and uncertainty about how personal firearm information was being used. Many lawful owners were unaware of how widely their data could be accessed. The January ruling now places firearm-related digital records under stronger constitutional review. This change limits the collection, retention, and sharing of firearm-related personal data. Government agencies must justify their record-keeping practices under constitutional standards. Privacy protections are now formally recognized as part of firearm rights. This modernizes how constitutional privacy applies to gun ownership. Centralized firearm registries face legal scrutiny. Data sharing between agencies is restricted. Retention practices must meet constitutional standards. Personal firearm data gains privacy protection. This strengthens personal data security for lawful owners. It reduces unnecessary government tracking. It modernizes constitutional privacy safeguards. It places firearm ownership within broader civil liberty protections. Law 5. Permit processing standards. Lengthy permit delays and excessive fees have long discouraged lawful carriers from exercising their rights. In many states, applicants waited months or years without a clear justification. These administrative barriers effectively restricted access to lawful carry. The January ruling now challenges these practices under constitutional review. States are required to justify permit delays and financial barriers using stronger legal standards. Timely processing becomes a constitutional expectation rather than a discretionary policy choice. Access and affordability now fall under judicial scrutiny. This shifts permit systems toward fairness and consistency. Permit processing timelines face constitutional review. Excessive fees are subject to legal challenge. Denial standards must be clearly defined. Lawful access becomes more predictable. This improves fairness across state permit systems. It reduces artificial administrative barriers. It strengthens lawful carry access nationwide. It promotes consistent treatment for responsible applicants. Law 6. Limits on digital surveillance. Government monitoring of lawful firearm activity expanded quietly over recent years. Online searches, purchases, and related data were increasingly tracked without public awareness. This raised serious concerns about warrantless digital surveillance. The January ruling now places firearm-related digital monitoring under constitutional protection. Courts have reinforced that lawful firearm ownership cannot be used as justification for warrantless digital surveillance. Agencies must now meet higher legal standards before monitoring lawful activity. Digital privacy gains constitutional shelter. This protects lawful owners in the modern digital environment. Online firearm activity gains privacy protection. Purchase tracking faces constitutional limits. Location and transaction monitoring requires justification. Warrantless surveillance faces legal restriction. This change curtails invasive monitoring practices. It strengthens modern privacy rights. It reinforces constitutional safeguards online. It protects lawful digital behavior nationwide. Law 7. Protection for firearm businesses. Licensed firearm businesses have faced unstable regulatory environments and unclear inspection standards. Minor paperwork errors were often used to justify severe enforcement actions. These practices created uncertainty for lawful commerce. The January ruling now reinforces clearer legal standards for firearm-related businesses. Enforcement agencies must now focus on actual legal violations rather than technical mistakes. License actions and inspections face stronger constitutional review. Processing delays are also placed under scrutiny. This stabilizes the lawful firearm marketplace. Paperwork errors cannot alone justify shutdowns. License revocation requires legal cause. Processing delays face constitutional review. Business stability improves nationwide. This supports lawful firearm commerce. It protects small business owners. It improves regulatory clarity. It strengthens economic consistency across the firearm industry. Law 8. Ammunition purchase standards. Ammunition purchasing became disproportionately restricted in certain states. Complex rules turned routine purchases into extended legal processes. This created shortages and unnecessary barriers for lawful owners. The January ruling now recognizes ammunition as an essential component of lawful firearm use. States must now justify excessive ammunition restrictions under constitutional standards. Artificial purchasing barriers face heightened legal challenges. This promotes consistency across jurisdictions. It restores reasonable access to lawful ammunition purchases. Repeated background checks face scrutiny. Online ammunition sales gain protection. Purchase limits face constitutional review. Access standards become consistent. This supports lawful training and self-defense needs. It reduces artificial shortages. It strengthens lawful access. It improves market stability. Law 9. Property and home protections. Unannounced compliance inspections raise serious constitutional concerns. Lawful owners and businesses experience surprise visits without clear evidence of wrongdoing. These practices blurred the line between oversight and intrusion. The January ruling now reinforces property and warrant protections. Courts emphasize that property access must meet constitutional evidence standards. Warrantless inspections face stronger legal challenges. Home and business privacy rights gain stronger recognition. This restores constitutional balance between enforcement and private property. Warrantless inspections face restriction. Evidence standards for entry increase. Property access requires legal justification. Home privacy protections strengthen. This limits surprise inspections. It strengthens private property rights. It improves legal clarity. It restores constitutional safeguards. Law 10. Interstate travel protection. Traveling across state lines with a firearm has long created legal uncertainty. Conflicting state laws exposed lawful owners to accidental violations. This created fear and confusion during normal travel. The January ruling now reinforces safe passage protections nationwide. Courts clarify that lawful origin and destination determine legal protection during travel. Temporary travel stops gain clearer legal coverage. Permit recognition expands across state lines. This dramatically changes how firearm owners travel. Interstate travel protections are reinforced. Temporary stops receive legal protection. Permit recognition expands nationwide. Conflicting state barriers face challenges. This change directly affects millions of Americans. It reduces legal anxiety while traveling. It strengthens lawful movement nationwide. It modernizes interstate firearm protections. What happens next? These court decisions are not slowing down, and the next round of rulings will directly affect permits, travel, home inspections, and how you interact with law enforcement. This channel exists to make sure you are never caught off guard by a legal change you should have known about. Like this video so it reaches other responsible gun owners who deserve to stay protected. Subscribe to the channel because the next video will break down exactly what to say and what not to say during a real traffic stop if you are lawfully carrying. Drop a comment below and tell us which chapter shocked you the most, and also tell us what topic you want covered next so we can make sure you stay ahead of every change that matters. We'll see you in the next video.